Hey all, here OS Reviews. Just a week or two ago, we checked out the Neo Smart Pen M1 Plus, which is a very interesting gadget that connects to your phone using Bluetooth and then saves a digital copy of everything that you're writing down and can even transcribe it into typed text for easy searching and can be an alternative to something like a scanner, for example, or using your phone's camera. The M1 Plus also has pressure sensitivity, so if you're an artist, it's kind of like a Wacom stylus pen, but you just draw on paper and you have a saved copy on your iPad, smartphone, or Android tablet. Well, now we're taking a look at another version from Newis. It's called the Sync Pen, and it's actually a slightly newer second generation model. We actually checked out their first gen product back in the summer. The first generation Sync Pen looks like this, and what's new here on the second generation model is they've added pressure sensitivity. This one also claims to have more flexibility in terms of how you write, so you can actually rotate the pen 360 degrees and it should still capture the handwriting as opposed to forcing you to write only in one position. And furthermore, it also has a auto on and auto off feature now. So previously there was a button that you needed to tap on to turn the pen on, and it activates the Bluetooth and connects to your smartphone. But with the M1 Plus, as we saw previously, it automatically turns on whenever you remove the cap. So pretty much it's the same product now as the M1 Plus, just by a different company. Now, here's the interesting thing. Aside from working with the special notebooks and papers that Newis sells, and you can also print yourself from their website, it also works with a electronic writing pad that they give you. So this is kind of an altered version of a boogie board, something that you may have seen floating around. It's an LCD writing tablet. It's become quite popular and pretty affordable over the past few years, but essentially you exert some pressure on it and it's able to kind of jot things down, and it doesn't consume any power until you tap on the erase key and it kind of wipes everything off. But there's actually a very small pattern of grids if you look very closely on this particular LCD writing pad that is especially designed for the stylus, so it's able to recognize where you're writing even on this erasable digital kind of blackboard or whiteboard. So you're able to sketch things out without even using physical paper, and you can still have the sensation of writing on something like a pen and paper, but you don't have to waste as much sheets if you're just quickly going through brainstorming, for example. So the compatibility of the pen to sync and remember things that you write on this LCD writing pad is a feature that is missing from Neo's smart pens, and it's completely unique to Newis at the moment. Otherwise, the packaging here is very simple and straightforward. We just got a quick user guide that tells you how to download the companion app for syncing and saving your notes to the cloud. It works with both Android and iOS. We get a quick sample piece of paper for testing that the pen is working. Again, how the magic of the pen works is basically there is an infrared camera located on the tip that is able to pick up these micro dots which are embedded onto this paper, and through these dots it's able to recognize its position on the page and then send that information over to the phone. We've got a free journal included in the packaging, which is also nice because the M1 Plus requires you to purchase those journals separately, and the journal itself is actually decent quality. It's made of a synthetic leather material, has a pretty standard size, just says Newis Note, and otherwise you can see it's just filled with lined pages for you to customize, and once again we see the presence of these micro dots if we zoom all the way in. In addition to the charging cable, which is still using micro USB, would have liked to see Type-C, but it is what it is. And we have some spare pen tips as well. We get 3 in the box. That's also a little bit more than the Neo Smart Pen. In addition, we get some additional pen tips which are made out of plastic, and this is basically the stylus tip, so that if you're writing on the LCD tablet, of course you don't want the ink to actually leave a mark. So this is just a kind of plastic nib. Let's start by taking a closer look at the design of the Sync Pen 2.0. It's overall constructed out of an aluminum alloy shell for the frame, which makes it feel quite sturdy and premium. The tip here simply has the micro USB port for charging, but the pin cap area is made out of plastic. When you pop it up, it actually automatically opens and turns on. You can see that by the LED status light, and we have a stylus tip here applied right now. Underneath here is where we have the aforementioned camera that picks up your writing and then sends that over to your phone. So it's a very sleek and streamlined appearance, just very similar in size, in fact, to just a regular pen. When you pop in the cap, you can see how the light also goes off. Now, if we do a size comparison with the last generation Sync Pen over here, you can see it's pretty much identical. One thing I liked about the previous generation pen though was it had more of a triangular shape, which I thought was more slightly ergonomic and interesting to grip. This is completely round, but otherwise the build quality and weight are both very similar. And here we have the aforementioned Neo Smart Pen M1 Plus, its closest competitor, and you can see that the M1 Plus is also a tad longer. So this is one of the shortest, more compact smart pens available. The M1 Plus is more colorful, but it is made entirely out of plastic as opposed to metal that we have here. One thing I do want to say is the SyncPen 2.0 does have a slight design flaw in the sense that the LED light gets covered up when you pop the cap onto the rear, versus the previous generation SyncPen actually has a slight hole on the cap here that still allows you to see the light, and the same attention can be said with the M1 Plus, also giving you an area that reveals the notification light. If you aren't familiar with these LCD writing tablets, they don't require, again, any power. It's basically just pushing around pixels on the screen and only takes a small amount of juice whenever you want to reset these pixels back to their original position. In order to do that, there's a lock switch on the side that you can actually tap on, and you can unlock it and then tap on the key here to completely purge everything. Neat thing here is the rear of the board is actually a real whiteboard, so you can use a dry erase marker to write things on here as well. Unsurprisingly, it's using the same app as on the previous generation, the newest Notes app. It says make the world paperless, a very good vision, and the main dashboard has remained unchanged. There's just a symbol on the very top that tells us if our pen is connected, if our notes have been synced. So I can just begin by putting the pen down onto this pad, beginning to write say hi, and you can see it's begun a new page automatically. The first strokes are sometimes missed, but afterwards they're captured without too many issues. So I can do additional doodles here like OS reviews, and this is on this LCD writing pad, and you can see the same image has been transferred over onto our phone's display. The actual pen tip itself is also able to pick up on levels of pressure sensitivity, so I can press really hard and make a firmer line, and now be a lot more gentle, and the line also becomes more shallow, as you can see there. So the experience there is, for the most part, pretty realistic, and again, works quite well in terms of keeping up with your finger movements. One thing I will say though is that for some of the controls down below here in terms of changing the color of the ink, as well as for doing things like changing the thickness manually, these controls are still in progress, so we don't actually have those controls fully mapped out yet. It's going to be for the future. I expect that there'll be a software update, but at the moment, at least on this prototype edition, you can see that tapping on these keys down below aren't corresponding to any actions on screen. But what we are able to do on screen is change the color ourselves. We can also tap on a highlighter to make a thicker texture or a different colored line. I can also erase certain elements from the screen manually. I can save it as an image. I can tap on the voice recorder here to begin recording sound continuously as I'm writing things down. On the sidebar here, we can also exit out of the LCD pad writing mode and toggle into the traditional notebook mode. And from here, we're able to switch the tip from this plastic nib into that regular ballpoint pen. You can see it's captured that over onto the notes here of the digital copy without any issues. Even with very small font, it still picks up those details, as well as the previous generation pen, as well as the Neo Smart Pens. No complaints there. I can also tap on recognize for it to try and parse through this handwriting and transcribe it into, as you can see here, typed text for us to copy into some notes or into other journal entries. I can also do things like play back the writing in real time, so it's going to try and speed it up, and it's just going to be a quick segment as it is appearing on screen, as you can see there. It might be good for perhaps rejogging your memory if you're taking notes in different orders. Might also be good if you are perhaps a teacher giving a lecture. Social media, email, saving it as a PDF, as a separate document, as a picture, so on and so forth. Lastly, just like before, we are also able to add various hashtags to various notes. So for example, it's part of a journal or part of a demo, you can add different titles and keywords, and so it makes it quicker for you to search through specific files and documents just through the keyword search. So let's do a quick test here of the writing. If I try and scribble something down, of course in this regular orientation, the camera will pick it up without any issues. If I try to kind of point it slightly off axis, let's do it again. And you can see that in this case, it still recognized the handwriting, no problems. Even if we flip the camera all the way upside down like this and try it once again, you can see that it still managed to pick it up, versus on the previous generation model, if you kind of rotated the camera more than, I'd say, 60 degrees, it would stop recognizing your writing altogether. So that's more or less it as far as our hands-on review of the new second generation newest Smart Sync Pen. Again, what's been upgraded is that support for the additional smart LCD writing pad, which is a great idea, quite innovative, and also for increased sensitivity, allowing you to write more freely at various angles, in addition to having the support for pressure sensitivity. The app works as well as before, allowing you to add voice recordings, allowing you to transcribe and export as various file formats. It's a great companion for students, professionals, anyone that's doing a lot of handwriting and wants to preserve a copy that's backed up on your phone and also on the cloud, that you can reference later on and more quickly search through complicated notes because of various keywords and recognition that the software is able to do. So if interested, you can check out more details in the links down below, but for now, that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the newest SyncPen 2.0.